Hey budget friends, it's Steph with Stefsonabudget. Welcome back for another video. We are going to be setting up our budget for January 23rd, but before I can do that, I'm going to go ahead and set up my February budget calendar with you guys because we're going to need to budget a little bit into February for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and flip us over into February, and I've got it already. I just need to fill in all of the expenses, figure out, we're going to do the highlighter method, which is what the budget mom uses, and we're going to figure out what bills to pay with what paycheck here. Really quick, let me check on January. Okay, perfect. So this paycheck here for the 23rd, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that color as this light pink because we're going to be setting up our color key here, and then we're just going to match up some of these colors. So for February 6th, we'll highlight in this kind of purpley pink, and then the 20th we'll do in that purple. Okay, so I usually like to make like a color key off to the side here. And then I also usually like to note like my priority savings and my priority debt for the month. That way, as I'm, looking at my budget calendar throughout the month, I can see, if there's extra income somewhere or something like that, where I need to really prioritize that money to go to. So like I said, I use the Budget by Paycheck Mom by the Budget Mom, and I like to use her highlighter method. So we're gonna go ahead and set up our monthly spread, and I do have some changes to February, so we're going to kind of work those in together. So basically I'm just going to go literally day by day and fill in all the expenses that need to get paid on those dates. So for example, starting on Sunday, February 1, we are going to have our Home Depot account is due on this day. Now this card is paid off, so I don't have a payment, but it is still like an open active account. And so I do keep those accounts in my spread, even though there's no payment there. And what I have been doing lately is just not highlighting those if there is no payment due. So we're still gonna write it in, but then I also have my quarterly trash bill, and that's going to be $66.77. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in here too, because that's kind of a one-off for the quarter. We've got nothing on the 2nd. On the 3rd, we have some credit cards that are open but paid off, so there's no payments due there. And then I'm just going to keep going on this side here. Okay, we've got our gas bill, and I do know what that is already. It's $130.87 for February, so not too bad, creeping up a little bit. Okay, on the 9th, we have like mobile Starlink, you guys. It's not currently active, but for every month it's not active, you pay like a $5 account fee, if you will. So I do have that I'm gonna fill in. And then on the 10th, we pay our home Starlink. So we've got our internet, our personal loan debt snowball is due on this day. And then our electric bill is also due on this day. And for our electric bill, that came in at $258.55, I believe. So I'm gonna just write that amount there. That'll help me. It's 05. That'll help me when it comes time to budget. Okay, 15th, we have our car insurance. So I've just had like some changes. I've canceled a couple subscriptions, rearranged a couple of subscriptions, so I'm just kind of going through this one a little bit carefully. Okay, again, another credit card, another couple of credit cards that we don't owe anything on, but they're active accounts. Okay, we've got our City 1 debt snowball that we paid off last year on the 23rd here. We've got, oh, I wanted to make sure I wasn't writing the dates in correctly since I'm just doing the one side there. Okay, so I think that's everything on these dates. So let's go ahead and shuffle over this way. And I'm gonna just move the book. Actually, what I'm gonna need to do, you guys, I lied. I am going to have to take this out. Otherwise, I'm gonna bump into the rings here, which is why, as a left-hander, I love the disc system for that very reason. Okay, so let's do this. All right, on the 4th, I don't believe we have anything. So on the 5th, we've got quite a few things here. We've got our truck payment, Paramount subscription. I check in with my husband on this one every month to see if he's still watching. And then we have, again, a couple of open accounts, no payments due. Okay, then on the 6th, we have our first payday of February. So every payday, I need to set aside half of my mortgage for the next month. So we're gonna do that. And that is it for the 6th. Nothing on the 7th. If we jump down to the 11th, we're gonna have our home water bill, and I have not received that one yet, so we'll have to wait for that one to come in. Okay, we've got trailer payment on the 13th, and then the 14th, we've got a Kindle Unlimited subscription, and another debt snowball from an account we paid off last year as well. Okay, nothing on the 18th. The 19th has Netflix, and you guessed it, another paid off credit card, you guys. Okay, then we're on to our next payday. Oop, I smeared my ink there, another lefty problem. So we're gonna have the second half of our mortgage due here. Okay. And we've got a Discover debt snowball, as well as now a Wells Fargo debt snowball. So I'm going to write those in on the chance that, you know, we can still budget those. We try, you know, November and December, I kind of put them on hold just for the holidays, but February, I definitely hope to be back into our normal budgeting routine. Okay. On the 21st, we have my car payment. Nothing on the 25th. The 26th, we've got a Disney Plus subscription. As well as a credit card. And I will have a payment on this one this month. Every January, our Blink subscription hits this account. But what I do is I'll pull from our home sinking fund to pay that back. And that is a good example of why I might not be actively using any of these cards. And why I don't have a payment, but I still keep them in my budget for on the chance that maybe we have, you know, a subscription or something tied to that card. I certainly would not want to miss a payment. Okay, then on the 27th, we have our new Apple One subscription. And what this is I used to have like Apple Music, iCloud, Apple TV and all that. It combined all that into one cheaper payment for me. So that was a nice change. And we've got an oven debt snowball from an account we paid off 2 years ago, you guys. So we've been rolling these debt snowballs as much as we can. Okay, last up on the 28th, it's a short month, February. We've got our cell phones. And then we've got our Apple Card. We've got a couple of those. Only one has a balance that we're working on right now. Okay, so that is our monthly spread all set up. Let me make sure, Let me make sure you guys can see. I'm zoomed in, so I hope, I hope you guys could see me setting it up even. but I bumped the table trying to check. Okay, so next up we want to kind of calculate our expenses. So obviously we don't get paid until February 6th. So all of these things before the 6th are gonna need to get paid with our paycheck on the 23rd. And that's what I meant by some of these are gonna pull into this budget we're gonna set up now pulls a little bit into February. So we're gonna highlight our trash bill because that is due. Nothing on either of those. I think I'd be okay to pop this back in. And then I'm gonna need to pay my truck payment, and that Paramount subscription is gonna come out automatically. So again, you can see I have these accounts. I just don't highlight them because there is no payment associated there. All right, the next thing I want to do is go ahead and calculate out all of the other paychecks for the month before I start highlighting, because I want to make sure that things are balanced and we're going to be able to cover what we need to cover. So starting with the 6th, we're just going to kind of work our way through all of these payments, these bills, to see if we're going to be okay. I'm going to guesstimate about $115 on the water. And then the rest, we should know we've got a debt snowball here. We've got our car insurance, nothing, Netflix. Okay, so we're looking at $28.39. And that's with our snowball, so that's really nice. So that's, it seems a little lower than usual, so I'm going to just kind of make a mental note, and then we're going to go ahead and calculate out the next payday and make sure we're not too like unbalanced. Okay, then I'm also going to have to come into March a little bit because I don't get paid until this, every other Friday. So I'm going to have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th before I get paid again on March 6th. So I've got to cover into March 5th. So what I do for that is I just look up at the current month to see what I have. Trash is quarterly, so I'm not going to have that. So I'm essentially just going to have these two things here. And you can see I am way misbalanced. So I owe almost $1,000 more the next payday. So I really need to offset that misbalance. So if we just do add 30.50 to this, that's the two combined. If we divide that by 2, that'd be about 34.10 a pay period, which is a little bit high. So this pay period, we have some extra income. So that tells me I'm gonna want to have some sort of rollover built into the extra income this paycheck. And that's the reason I like to kind of work ahead, because it helps me to catch things like that now. If I had just did my budget without looking ahead, I would have put that money towards something, spent it, saved it, done something with it other than what I really need to do with it, which is roll it over so I don't have this misproportioned paycheck on February 20th where I have too many expenses. So I hope that makes sense. So everything for the paycheck on the 6th works out just fine. So we're gonna go ahead and grab this color and we're gonna highlight all the things in here that need to get paid. Oops, I shouldn't have highlighted that one because, like I said, that service is not currently turned on, but oh well, okay. I'll have that small account fee, so I guess that works out okay. Okay, then what I'm gonna need to do is probably pay something a little bit early. So I was at, let me just do some quick math, you guys. Okay, $28.39. So I probably realistically want to pay something early with this paycheck to offset that here on top of my rollover. So I think looking ahead, what would be reasonable to take care of early on the 6th would probably be, we've got this Discover debt snowball. And that's the other thing too, right? Like these are debt snowballs. This is a debt snowball. I have 4 debt snowballs into this one paycheck. If I took those out, it would balance just fine. But I do try to keep those in there so that we're still, making the progress we have been making on our debt payoff, if that makes sense. But if push came to shove and that wasn't going to work, we could correct that in that way. So this is just my process. I hope I'm not confusing you, but I like to see people think through their process. It helps me to kind of improve and learn on my own budget. So I think what I'll probably do is go ahead and take care of this debt snowball early. So we're going to go ahead and highlight that, even though it falls into the other pay period. Okay, and then for this one, we can go ahead and highlight the rest. Oh, and I'm going to highlight this one so I remember to pull that money from my house sinking fund and take care of that. So we're going to highlight all of those. And then in today's paycheck, you're going to see me put some rollover into my budget to make up for that additional difference. So I'm going to add this debt snowball to this one, which would actually bring us to $30.39 for that paycheck. And that would decrease us to about $3,500 for this one. So realistically, I at least want to try to roll over a couple hundred if I can. And then if not, like I said, we'll eliminate some of the debt snowballs. So that is February. I think pretty ready to go. I feel pretty good about it. Next thing we're going to do is go ahead and flip back on over to January. And we're going to go ahead and set up our biweekly budget, and we're going to set up for the paycheck on the 23rd here. So all these things highlighted in this light pink, we are going to go ahead and add into our budget. So income wise, we're working with $5,362 this paycheck. We're going to go ahead and move into the fixed expenses. And right away, we're going to start off with that first half of our mortgage. Our mortgage payment did come down about $37, I think, this year, but I'm just keeping that same payment we have had as of last year, and we are getting some additional principal movement there, if you will. Okay, so the 23rd, let me just take a quick peek at my calendar since I didn't pull it out on the things that I need to take care of. So like I have this Kindle, see how the iCloud, I noted that moved. So we actually don't have that anymore because it's lumped into this Apple One. Okay, so we're going to have Kindle Unlimited. I'm going to go ahead and put a little A here. That lets me know that this payment is going to come out automatically. And that is $13. Okay, sorry friends. I was getting a FaceTime call from the kiddo. All right, so we've got that. And then we are going to have our Disney Plus. Come on, hand, you can do it. I'm going to put a little A there as well. And that is on the 26th, and that is $22. Then on the 27th, we have that new Apple One, and that kind of just rolled a lot of those subscriptions into one, and that's $41 a month. We also on the 27th have the oven debt snowball. And that's $125. So we'll take that $125 and put that towards our current debt, which is the Apple, where we're trying to pay off my husband's new phone, new computer. Okay. Then we have the Apple card itself on the, oh shoot, I skipped one, but that's okay. On the 31st, that's $230 for those 2 minimum payments. And this is, if you're new to my channel, these 2 things are an installment plan, so there's no interest. Apple just breaks up your payments over a certain period of time and you pay that set amount each month. The only way you would earn any interest is if you didn't make your payment in full, but we definitely make our payment in full. And so, you know, I'm not too fussed about putting these types of things on this type of card, though preferably if we had cash, that would have been best. But since the situation didn't allow for that, we're just making the best with what we can. And so at least there's no interest. We have our cell phones on the 28th, which I had forgot. And those are $331. That covers 6 lines for us, all unlimited. We get like free HBO Max and all that with our phone plan. And we have looked into a cheaper plan, and there is no such thing for what we have going on, apparently. So they definitely said, don't go changing anything on your account, because we've been with our phone carrier for, gosh, you guys, probably almost 20 years now. Okay, our trash is going to be due on the 1st, and that is going to be $67. We have our truck payment on the 5th. Okay, and then last we have that Paramount subscription. I feel like I always write so sloppy on these things, because when I'm like personally writing, you guys, you should see me. I'm like notebook like to my chest, all hunched over the darn thing. And I feel like I'm so far out and I can't like control my hand. I can't control my hand. All right, Paramount is 14 on the 5th. And I think that's going to be all of our fixed expenses. So let's go ahead and add all of those up to see what we're looking at. And I'm going to pop this over here. Okay, so we're looking at $2,999. That's a fun number. 2,999. Okay, we're going to take that from our income of $5,362, and that's going to leave us with $2,363 to go ahead and bring down to our variable expenses, or as most people know them, our cash envelopes. Okay, we've got those all written in, so no big changes here, you guys. Pretty steady and boring as far as variable expenses go. $340 to groceries, $200 to Costco, $150 into gas. We budget $40 for miscellaneous expenses, $60 for house and beauty, $360 into spending, $100 for takeout. We pay $42 for drinking water, and I will need to pay this next time. So sometimes it's stretches like over 2 paychecks. So like I budgeted $42 last paycheck and I didn't need it, which is why I will need to have it for this time when I go. And then I put like 50 gallons on at a time, which is like 2 trips. And so the 42 that I have this time, I usually will pull and put towards like Monday minis or something like that. Okay, so this should be $13.42 for variable expenses. Let's just do a quick double check. All right, perfect. $13.42. We're going to take that from the $23.63. That's going to leave us with $1,021 to roll over into our sinking funds / savings. So $1,021 we're going to put in here. All right, and then we've got the usual here as well. So month ahead, our emergency fund savings, Christmas, that's a huge sinking fund for us all year. Our savings challenges, which typically funds our sinking funds, and then we have our debt binder for some extra debt. All right, let's figure out this math. So 33 into our month ahead, 64 into our emergency fund. I budget that every pay period. 100 into Christmas. 225 for savings challenges. and we're gonna do 300 for our debt binder. So let's add all of those up. And that's gonna give us $722. And we're gonna take that from the 1,021. That's gonna leave us $299, you guys. We're gonna go ahead and bring that down to our leftover here. And we're gonna set that aside for rollover, so $299, and that will help us offset that expensive, more expensive pay period, right? So that gives us 0 at the end. So we've got a 0 base budget. You're gonna note that I still have technically $300 that isn't really going into anything. It's just gonna sit into my checking account as rollover until I need it. So 0 base budget doesn't mean $0 in the accounts. It just means that every dollar has been given a job, even if that job is to sit there and look pretty as a little nest egg for you until you need it. I will say our car maintenance sinking fund is gonna take a big hit, you guys. I just purchased tags for one vehicle. I've got to purchase tags in February for a second vehicle. They're not expensive here, but you know, it's an unusual expense every 2 years that we have. And then I need to get the new tires on my vehicle. And you guys, the hubs got a speeding ticket, so we fighting. Not really, but we do need to take care of that unexpected expense as well. So we're gonna try to pull as much from our car sinking fund, and that's where those sinking funds really come in handy. So putting money into Christmas and sinking funds helps us cover those kind of things so that we don't accrue more debt, right? That's the ultimate goal. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for February setup. Super excited about it. It's a cutie. So we're gonna have fun looking at this all month long next month, right? And we are prepared for payday today, as well as looking into February. So all good things, you guys. All right, friends, that is gonna do it for this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button to stick around, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.